Part 98. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 982. Old Rules. Yuren became an adult at the age of 12. Last year, he held a grand ceremony to become a demon in the Han tribe. The so-called grandness means that 165 great demons of the whole clan gathered around Grandma Tang, who could not move, and lit a bonfire. Under the instructions of the Crown Prince, the whole clan gathered around a big pot and cooked snow spirit. Boiled eggs. On weekdays, the Han people are chewing tree roots. On grand festivals, they add eggs to the root pot. It was a very hearty meal. The entire Han tribe is celebrating the birthday of Tai, who has grown up. And at the feast of the demonic ceremony, an interesting thing happened. Because in order to ensure that each demon can eat a human-faced spider egg, Meow Meow and Jewer stopped stealing this time and went directly to the tribe next door to rob it. Nearly 200 spider eggs were recovered. But when more than 100 demons peeled their eggs that day, the scent was too strong and drifted back to the tribe of human-faced snow spiders. This made the leader of the human-faced snow spider tribe, a great human-faced snow spider named Jujifu, angry and came to complain. Later, Huan Yang went up to negotiate with a smile. At that time, everyone felt that the Rift Valley was shaking violently. The cat demon Meow Meow, who has the softest and most elastic butt, was even lifted a few centimeters while sitting on the ground peeling off eggshells. Then, it was quiet. Huan Yang said that she persuaded the Ninji woman to leave with her kind words. Yilin, who was skilled in peeling eggshells and eating boiled eggs, felt that this was not good and felt a bit like bullying a demon. But in front of Tai, Huan Yang clenched her seemingly delicate pink fist and told Tai in a deep voice, "In the demon clan, only the strong are recognized. Only those with strength are qualified to speak. Tai, if you show too much weakness, it will be difficult to truly unify the demon clan and become the lord of all demons in the future. Furthermore, one of their human-faced snow spiders can produce more than 1,000 eggs a year, and among these more than 1,000 eggs, they only choose the largest one every year to cultivate their offspring, and the rest the egg will eventually only become the nutrient for the chosen egg." The implication of Huan Yang's words seems to be that these eggs are meant to be eaten anyway, and it is better to benefit ourselves than to benefit those naughty spiders. When Yilin heard this, she thought it made sense and praised Huan Yang for being virtuous. Time returns to the present. Tai, 13 years old this year. Monster Clan Conference. Yilin muttered in her heart. In the past, Huan Yang never took him to play with other tribes. But now, this Monster Clan Conference sounds like a very formal meeting within the Monster Clan. Maybe we can also see the leaders of the Demon Clan from the other two major tribes, the 11 Clan and the Gu Clan. In the past 13 years, Yilin has been peaceful and stayed in his own territory. As soon as he knew, the water in the Demon Clan was very deep, and even Huan Yang was still invisible to Yilin, let alone the other two great demons who had the same status as Huan Yang in the Demon Clan. Secondly, although the Monster Clan is divided into so many tribes, and frictions occasionally occur between tribes, to put it bluntly, the entire Monster Clan is one family, and their common imaginary enemies are all humans. Yilin has no reason to treat the Monster Clan as one of them. Treat them as enemies. It would really be a bit too much to use the same tactics used by King Genies to deal with fellow members of the Demon Clan. Did something happen? Yilin looked at Huan Yang's eyes. Although Huan Yang always had a gentle and quiet attitude in front of Yilin, they had been together for 13 years and they were quite familiar with each other. From the Huan Yang's brows, Yilin faintly sensed something unusual. The flower girl didn't answer. She just smiled and raised her head, stood on tiptoes, and rubbed little Tai's long, silky hair. "Don't worry, if the sky falls, I will support you." On the second day, after sunrise, Huaniang took Yilin, Juer, Miao Miao, and more than a dozen monsters from the Han tribe to the place where the Monster Tribes Conference was held. The Monster Clan Conference will be held in a place called Upside Down Mountain. Upside Down Mountain is located in the middle of Beijuluzhu. On the evening of the third day, Yilin followed Huaniang and trekked all the way until they finally arrived at Upside Down Mountain. Looking at the magical landform in front of her, Yilin finally understood the origin of the name Upside Down Mountain. I saw it in the distance. The snow and fog were gentle, and an inverted, funnel-like mountain peak hung upside down in the air. After being turned upside down, the top turned into a flat platform. The high platform is hundreds of miles in diameter, and can even accommodate a city on the high platform. If you look closely, you will see that the upside-down mountain is not actually suspended in mid-air. At the bottom of upside-down mountain, at the tip, there is a thick icicle, in the center below the funnel. It is these thick icicles that support the weight of the upside-down mountain, making this upside-down mountain look like it has been turned upside down and suspended in mid-air from a distance. Except for the icicle in the center. On the four sides of the upside-down mountain platform, there are countless iron cables extending from the platform from all directions and nailed deeply into the ground. These iron cables make the mechanical structure of the upside-down mountain more stable. As long as they are not deliberately damaged, the surrounding iron cables and the load-bearing icicles in the center are enough to keep the upside-down mountain from tilting for thousands of years. There are two ways to climb the upside-down mountain platform, which is a full 5,000 meters high. The first one is simple and crude, taking off on the spot. The second is to climb up along the iron cable. Huaniang originally wanted to take Tai and fly up in the sky. But Tai said that if he wanted to try climbing the iron rope, Huaniang could only let Tai do it. About an hour later. Sunset to the west. A group of demons from the Han tribe, led by Huaniang, finally climbed to the top of the upside-down mountain. Under the dim sky. Above the platform. Groups of monsters, each in a camp, holding torches, are located in one corner. There are not so many rules in the meeting of the demon clan, such as dividing seats into 3, 6, or 9. Anyway, first come, first served, first come, first served. When you come, you can find an open space to stay. After all, this monster clan conference is on Juluzhu in the whole north. Almost every clan will send representatives to participate in the conference. Of course, most of these so-called representatives are the leaders of a certain tribe. On the platform of Upside Down Mountain, a rich demonic energy rose into the sky, scattering the snow clouds in the sky, and the stars and moonlight fell on the platform without any cover. After Huaniang told Miao Miao and Juer, the two noisy ghosts, not to run around and provoke other tribes, she found an open space and stayed quietly. Under normal circumstances, in Yilin's impression, Huaniang is also a big demon who abides by the rules, even though she is one of the three big demon heads in Luzhu, Beiju. By the way, Yilin also met Jijifu, the leader of the Snow Spider tribe, an old neighbor of the Han tribe. Jijifu is a large demon with a human face and the body of a spider, about 20 feet long. Fortunately, looking up, the human-face snow spider is known as the human face and has a human face that is very in line with human aesthetics. There is purity in the coquettishness, and there is spring in the charm. Especially the 9-section woman who couldn't find suitable clothes from the neck up to the waist, used her big wavy white hair to cover most of the sparkling light, leaving her flesh hidden and exposed. As for the waist below, it is difficult to support. All I could see was that the lower body of the 9-section woman had a huge, round spider butt. On both sides of the abdomen, there are only 9 spider legs, 5 on the left and 4 on the right. It is unknown who chopped off one of them. It seems that this is the origin of her name 9-section woman. Yilin smiled and said hello to Jiji's wife, Aunt Jiji came so early. He has no ill intentions towards the 9 festival women. After all, she can give birth. With just one demon, she can lay a lot of eggs and feed many demons. She can be called a model worker. The pretty face of the Jaja woman suddenly turned dark, and she ignored Yilin. Yilin shrugged and lay on the snow, looking up at the stars. In addition to the snowy scenery of Bajuluzhu, the second thing that Yilin misses is the bright starry sky and Milky Way. The stars in the sky are arranged differently every day, as if they are conveying some unknown secret to Yilin. Time passed in Yilin's days. More and more monsters climbed onto the platform. There were more and more fires burning on the platform. Finally, the participating demon tribes finally came to join the demon race. The people responsible for organizing this demon clan conference are people from the Gu clan. The people of the Drum clan are all very perfect in their incarnations. Even in front of their fellow tribesmen, they are reluctant to reveal their true bodies and show themselves in their incarnations. A middle-aged man wearing an ancient robe and looking gentle and elegant interspersed among each clan. En route. A certain demon pretending to be a middle-aged man, with a respectful expression, handed an inconspicuous domino to the flower girl's hands. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 983. Mom, what is this? Yilin turned into a curious baby and asked. Don't ask any more questions. The flower girl lightly slapped Yilin's strange hand that was reaching for the dominoes away. Snapped. Yilin's hand was swollen from being patted. Am I your son? Facing Tai's resentful eyes, Huanyang suppressed a smile. I brought you here today to show you your face among the elders. Don't ask random questions about things you don't understand, and don't say random things that you shouldn't say. Okay, Tai promises not to move. Yilin agreed on behalf of Tai Yi. The dominoes were distributed to the leaders of each clan. It was said to be a meeting of 10,000 demons, but Yilin's rough visual inspection showed that there were only 5,000 or 6,000 demons standing on Upside Down Mountain, which was still a long way from the number of 10,000. Yilin covered her swollen hand and looked on coldly, not asking any questions for the time being. At this time, there was a commotion in the distance. A huge demon was carried up to the Upside Down Mountain. The big demon had a fat body, and its fat face had a ferocious human face. At first glance, what impressed Yilin the most was its mouth. Its big mouth obviously does not conform to the proportions of a normal human face. One mouth covers at least 2/3 of the entire face. When it grins, the upper and lower rows of fangs are densely packed, reflecting a terrifying cold light against the firelight. Who is that big-mouthed fat monster? Yilin had promised not to ask random questions not long ago, but now she couldn't help but ask again. This is a good time to understand the inside of the monster clan. Huanyang's eyebrows twitched and she just raised her hand, ready to teach the scoundrel a lesson. Unexpectedly, Tai had already covered her hands tightly behind her back. In desperation, Huanyang sighed softly. It is the leader of the 11 tribe, Gluttony. Gluttony. Huanyang lowered her voice. That guy has a cruel character. My mother knew it 3,000 years ago. It swallowed up a city in one breath, and finally provoked the pursuit of the ancestors of Tianjian sect, and finally hid here. Where's the body? Yilin's eyes narrowed, and while he was looking at Gluttony, Gluttony seemed to notice Yilin's gaze, and those funny little green bean eyes suddenly glanced towards the direction of Huanyang and Yilin. Huanyang took a step forward and stood in front of Yilin. Gluttony smiled coldly, looked away, opened his bloody mouth, and let out a weird laugh similar to hua hua hua. Until Gluttony's attention is diverted from this side. Huanyang then said, legend has it that it has the bloodline of the ancient monster Doughty. Doughty. Is there also gluttony in this world? Could it be that Zioxy brought it? A strange idea came to Yilin's mind. The origin of Huanyang's real body, the Han demon, has made Yilin look inexplicably familiar. This fat demon also has the blood of the Doughty. What is this? The resurrection of the myth. Gluttony was pushed by its tribesmen on a flatbed cart and slowly moved to the center. Along the way, other little demons seemed to know the reputation of gluttony, and they all stayed away, not daring to get close. Immediately afterwards. Previously, dominoes were distributed to all the demon clan, and the entire clan transformed into the ancient robe demon clan. One of them, an old man with white hair slicked back, wore a decent navy blue robe and walked. He climbed up to a makeshift stage and began to speak. "What about this guy?" Yulin asked again. At this time, Huaniang seemed to have given up on training the bad boy, and answered honestly. "It is Guzu, the leader of the Gu clan, but its identity is not clear to Wei Niang. But what is certain is that its bloodline must have come from ancient times. As for why it has been in Bajuluzhu for so many years, Wei Niang, it's even less clear." Yulin could hardly smell any evil spirit from Guzu. First, it was because the place was noisy, there were too many monsters, and the smell was too mixed. Secondly, Guzu's transformation technique is almost flawless. It can be said that even if Guzu ran to the street, the low-level monks would not be able to tell Guzu's identity as a monster. Now, the 10,000 Demons Conference begins. Guzu smiled and announced the start of the 10,000 Demons Conference. What unfolded next was a little beyond Yulin's expectations. Yulin initially believed that the so-called 10,000 Monsters Conference, even if there were not enough demons, was at least a meeting. But what Yulin didn't expect was that, as soon as the meeting started, thousands of demons started making noise with Guzu as the center. "Just say something. Let me say a few words." Others cursed 3 more times. "Buzz buzz. Gwa gwa gwa. Woof woof woof. Hiss." At first they seemed to speak human language. Later, there was a lot of arguing, but some monsters couldn't make the noise, so they opened their mouths and burst out in their native language. And later, some demons started fighting on the spot. Yulin turned his head expressionlessly, avoiding a bloody broken tooth that happened to fly in this direction, and looked back at Huaniang. Huaniang seemed not to be surprised by the chaotic scene in front of her, and was still very calm, eating melon without saying a word. Among so many races, only the Han tribe, where Huaniang and Yulin belonged, were particularly quiet, as if they were isolated from the world, and seemed incompatible with the chaotic atmosphere of the scene. After the noise, Yulin couldn't hear what they were saying in the chaotic chorus of voices. "Why on earth do I have hope that the demon clan can have order?" Yulin covered her forehead, simply closed her eyes, and silently activated the freedom technique. "Free Dharma, listen." In an instant, the sounds around Yulin became quiet. Various musical notes seemed to be broken down into monosyllables composed of different frequencies and amplitudes before entering Yulin's ears. And all the monosyllables, after being filtered and reorganized by Yulin's brain, turned into a stream of information, which flowed into Yulin's ears and transformed into lines of information text in front of Yulin's eyes. Behind Yulin, Huaniang looked at the 1.8 meter back in front of her, thoughtfully. After a while, Yulin opened her eyes again, a trace of surprise flashed in her eyes. What he didn't expect was that the monster clan's hundreds of years of dormancy were inextricably linked to Xiaoxiaomen's ascension to the throne of the human emperor 100 years ago. 100 years ago, in the Dacian dynasty, when Xiaoxiaomen came to the throne, it caused strange celestial phenomena. Even when he ascended to the throne of the human emperor, he even triggered the human emperor's seal, causing the human emperor's seal to reappear in the world after disappearing for many years. In front of him, the tip of the iceberg of legendary items was displayed. For the human race, the human emperor's seal is just a symbol of royal power, but for the demon race, it has extraordinary significance. Yulin still clearly remembers the attributes of the human emperor's seal: suppress the country and prevent all evil from invading. For the demon clan, the human emperor's seal is their natural nemesis. Once the human emperor's seal appears, except for the three giants, even the tribal leaders at the level of the great demon will find it difficult to match. Therefore, when Xiaoxiaoman ruled the Dacian dynasty, the demon clan who were frightened by the human emperor's seal completely hid themselves. The monster clan disappeared from the sight of the human race, and the monks gradually retired. 100 years ago, the monks appeared and the Wizard of Oz became a legend. In particular, the human race gradually embarked on the path of technological advancement, and even scorned and expressed disbelief in these ancient legends from 100 years ago. Monsters, Qigong masters, they are all things that are meant to deceive children. Ancient people were uneducated and didn't understand anything. Even the sound of thunder could be regarded as the appearance of God. About 50 years ago, Empress Zhenhe abdicated, and the Dacian dynasty disappeared, and the emperors changed. About the 20th generation of the king, under pressure from the outside world, had no choice but to change the imperial system that had lasted for thousands of years, and changed it to rule of law. The royal bloodline has become a mascot-like existence, and the real power to govern the country is no longer in the hands of the Xia family's royal bloodline. In Dongsheng Shenzhou, there is no more dynasty, only Jian kingdom. These are all gossips, and with the mysterious disappearance of Empress Zhenhe, many people said that Empress Zhenhe was dead, the human emperor's seal was lost, and the mysterious and extraordinary people were completely extinct. Of course, extinction is impossible. Although Suanmen has withdrawn from the secular world, it does not mean that Suanmen has been completely erased from the world. After the legend of the human emperor's seal subsided, gradually, demons appeared again, hiding in the city. They disguised themselves as humans, fed on humans, and fed themselves with flesh and blood. Certainly, times have changed. 100 years later, the human race's technological level has advanced by leaps and bounds, and a certain degree of thermal weapons have appeared. Some weak monsters can even be injured by thermal weapons. Therefore, when the demon clan hides in the city and eats people, they no longer dare to be so unscrupulous. The people they abducted were eventually classified as either missing or vendetta. In short, the demon clan committed crimes and left countless unsolved cases. Yilin also learned something. While the monsters were sneaking around in the human race for food, there was a new organization that started walking around the city about 30 years ago to hunt monsters for a living. After systematic training, they had various tools for detecting and hunting monsters. They gradually gained the upper hand in the mutual hunting with the outside monsters. This organization, I don't know whether it is an officially registered name or a private name, they are called the Monster Hunting Division. And those who devote themselves to the lifelong mission of hunting monsters are called Monster Hunter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 984. There are many branches in the demon clan. There are also factions. It can even be divided into different types. First of all, from the geographical distribution, the distribution can be roughly divided into the demons that live in Luzhu in Beiju, and the demons that hide in the city. For most humans, or for ordinary demon hunters, the monsters they usually call are basically demons hiding in the city. Perhaps it is because Beiju Luzhu is guarded by 3 giants, or the monster hunting department believes that the unborn monsters entrenched in Beiju Luzhu will not threaten the human race. Of course the latter is unlikely. In short, during the past 100 years, the demon tribe in Luzhu, Beiju, has not been counterattacked by the demon hunting department. The monsters hiding in the city may not be able to bear the days of hiding in Beiju Luzhu, chewing tree bark and starving. They would rather risk being hunted, resolutely set foot in the city, and lurk among the human race. Take advantage of the opportunity. If monsters were divided into different categories based on their attitude toward humans, Yilin got clues from the quarrels at the 10,000 Monsters Conference. The demon clan in Bajuluzhu can be roughly divided into three factions. The main war faction is headed by the addicted tribe Gluttony. The Zuhi faction is headed by Guzu of the Gu clan. At last, Yilin calmly turned around and glanced at Huaniang, who looked equally peaceful. Two neutral factions that don't help each other. Tonight. Because there were once again rumors that the monster hunting department was hunting monsters wildly, that's why this 10,000 Monsters Conference was held. The main war faction advocated that there was no need to endure it any longer, and they directly rushed out of Bajuluzhu and counterattacked the human race. The legend of the human emperor's seal disappeared 50 years ago, and the person who could unleash the true power of the human emperor's seal, Empress Zhenhe, also disappeared for a full 50 years. No matter in the Taoist circle or the secular world, there are no longer rumors about Empress Zhenping or Xia Xiaoman. Gluttony thought that Xia Xiaoman must be dead. Then, the human emperor's seal disappeared again, and the human race would no longer be able to pose a threat to the demon race. The Zuhi faction headed by Guzu held different opinions. Guzu believed that the prosperity of the human race was inevitable and that finding ways to coexist peacefully with the human race was the right way to go. Not to mention, in addition to the fact that the human race is becoming more and more technologically advanced, there are also monks hiding in the dark. Yilin was reincarnated from a human into a demon. To be fair, he witnessed the poor life of the demon clan every day, which made him hungry and painful in his heart. Although he is human at heart, the kind-hearted monsters in the clan treat him well. If possible, he really wants to do something for the monsters. The meeting was still going on, with fists and kicks, and as the atmosphere became more and more heated, the two giants, Guzu and Gluttony, did not end up in such disgrace. They just stood in their respective positions, watching with cold eyes, looking down. Those who were young used beatings to negotiate and come to a conclusion. Can we draw conclusions from fighting alone? Well, actually it's still possible. Yilin immediately put an end to any thoughts that had just arisen before she had time to admit them. In the face of absolute power, any dispute was just a cloud. Suddenly, Yilin lowered his head thoughtfully. Isn't the policy implemented by Huaniang in the clan exactly in line with the wishes of the Zuhi faction? But why did Huaniang act like a neutral in front of the other two giants? Is it for balance? Or is it because he is afraid of Gluttony's strength? How powerful is a fat man who has lived for more than 3,000 years and possesses the bloodline of the ancient demon Daudi? Yilin was really curious. But while he was curious, he also secretly had a headache. The demon clan itself cannot be unified, and his title as the prince of the demon clan can only be used against the 165 great demons of the Han clan. Snort. As both demon clans became angry, a cold snort suddenly fell on the hearts of every demon like a heavy hammer. For a moment, the scene became quiet. Under that muffled hum, Yilin only felt her eardrums vibrate, and then buzz. It took her a long time to regain her hearing. Yilin looked in the direction where the cold snort came from, and saw the aloof Gluttony, with a bloodthirsty light flashing in his mung-bean eyes, staring directly at the side of the Han tribe, and behind the Han tribe, the man who started from the beginning more than 1,000 neutral demons remained silent until the end. Vote. Soon, Gluttony closed his eyes, and his big mouth made a strange sound like a blowing fan. It sounded like there was a meat grinder spinning metal blades in his mouth. Two huge boxes were pushed out. One red and one green. Red represents war. Green represents harmony. The box was built from broken bones. Ah, this. Yilin understood it at first glance and thought it was a bit outrageous. This demon race conference has been fought and argued for a long time, and a large piece of it has collapsed. Now you are talking about democratic voting? Is that how the dominoes are used? So why fight in the first place? Are you all children? Although Yulin was speechless, since he decided to start voting, the chaos was over. The leaders with the right to vote put their votes into the box one after another. They don't know where they learned the voting pattern. Before voting, each leader will hold the dominoes tightly with his big palms, first stretching his hand into the green box, and then into the red box, and will not let other monsters I saw which box I had thrown the domino into. Have you even learned how to vote by secret ballot? Yulin touched his chin. It must have been Guju's idea. Judging from his appearance, he should be a human race expert. Yulin saw the existence of order in the demon clan for the first time. One after another, the tribal leaders came forward and quietly threw their dominoes into the box. At last, only the flower girl group is left. Aha! Thousands of monsters are looking this way. Red, yellow, and green eyes with various colors of light flashed and shone in the dark night. The Han tribe abstains. Huaniang said softly. Ah! Guzu couldn't help laughing. Boss, are you a bit offended by this? When the flower girl said abstain, a 3-meter-tall bull-headed demon with horns breathed heavily from its nostrils, used its strong arms to squeeze through the demon group, and walked out from behind Gluttony. The Minotaur's face was full of flesh, with 2 horns, one of which was chipped. There was a long scar on his face, from his right ear to his left chin, as if someone had chopped him off. When the bull demon came out, there were about 100 big demons with horns behind it. They seemed to be stomping their feet in order to give their leader a boost of momentum. There was just a boom sound, and the platform on the upside-down mountain shook violently as the Minotaurs exerted their collective strength. It tilted left and right, and it took a while before it stabilized. This is a demonstration. While Huaniang and the Minotaur were gazing at each other and competing in terms of momentum, Yulin calmly approached the Nanny Jewer and asked, Jew, where does this Minotaur come from? Back to my young master, Niwu is the leader of the Bull Demon tribe. He has the blood of the great demon Mighty Bull flowing in his body. He is born with supernatural power. It is said that not long after he was born, he could easily lift 50 with one hand with his huge strength. An ice cube 10 feet high. It is said that his current strength is enough to cause an avalanche by knocking down a snow mountain with one punch. Except for the 3 ancient great demons above him, he is considered to be one of the top great demons in the entire demon clan. Yulin, how high is the ranking? How far ahead? Jewer, with pure brute strength, I can rank in the top 5. Yulin, by the way, would the number 1 in pure brute strength be? Jewer nodded, and before the young master finished asking, he took the initiative to answer, yes, young master, it is your lord. Damn it, no wonder it hurts so much. Etc. Yulin touched her chin. Isn't the other party's name butter worth complaining about? Have you been a demon for so long that you are no longer surprised by the strange names of these demon clans? Habits are really terrible things. When Yulin asked Jewer about the situation, the Tauren have come to the Drought tribe. It was condescending, looking down at the Han people and the group of people. It cupped its hands in a respectful manner, but its expression was completely different. Boss, the 10,000 Monsters Conference has always had a rule that all cards in your hand must be thrown into the box. The flower girl didn't make any move and still looked very calm. In the past, there were 3 boxes. Old Niu, I don't care how many boxes there are. Rules are rules. By doing this, Boss Pai, aren't you afraid of chilling the hearts of the hundreds of thousands of demons in Luzhu, Beiju? At this time, the other 2 giants, Gluttony and Guzu, all looked at Huaniang at the same time. Guju's eyes flashed. Gluttony opened his bloody mouth and let out a weird laugh. All the other great demons were quiet, as if they were waiting for Huaniang's reaction. The atmosphere instantly became awkward. Huaniang was silent, with faint blue veins floating around her eyes. Of course we Han tribe abide by the rules of the 10,000 Demons Conference. A voice suddenly sounded from behind Hua Niang. The person who spoke was not Hua Niang. With a kind smile on his face, Yilin walked out from behind Hua Niang step by step. He looked up at the Turan who was twice as tall as him, and the smile on his face grew bigger and bigger. But this brother Turan, you seem to have made two mistakes. Tai, the son of Hanbeo, appeared between Hua Niang and Butter, smiling and raising two fingers. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 985. Tai. When Yilin came out of the Han tribe, Zhu'er and Miao Miao were both anxious. They originally wanted to hold the young master back. But before they had time, the young master suddenly walked up. When Hua Niang saw it, she felt bad. Just when she was about to dissuade him, Yilin turned around and smiled and touched Hua Niang's beautiful wavy red hair in front of the Minotaur. "Mom, don't worry, the baby has grown up." After saying that, under the slightly surprised look of Hua Niang, Yilin shook the animal skin, raised his collar, and walked up to the Turan. In a trance. Looking at Tai's generous figure of 1.8 meters, Hua Niang suddenly woke up. Tai was no longer the short little kid he used to be. Forcing the neutrals to realign. Yilin quickly understood the situation. Because there is a monster hunting department in the secular world. In addition, Xiaoxiaoman has been missing for 50 years, and without the suppression of the human emperor's seal, more and more people in the monster clan can no longer bear this barren life and want to return to the territory of the human clan and eat as much as they want. Eat? Actually. Thinking from the perspective of the demon clan, is this wrong? There is nothing wrong with that. People eat beasts, the beasts become monsters, and the monsters eat people. In the end, humans and monsters seem to be two ends of the food chain. Natural selection, the winner is king, this is the law of nature. This is also reason. However, Yilin felt from the bottom of her heart that this shouldn't be the case. Whether the demon clan is destroyed by the human race, or the demon clan destroys the human race, this should not be the future of the demon clan. Brother Turan, you seem to have made two mistakes. Yilin raised two fingers with a smile. If there are friends from the Tiankai Guild here, perhaps Jian Nanchun or Xiaoxiaoman who knew senior brother Lin Yi very well in their previous life, they will know that someone is going to be in trouble as soon as they see Yilin saying kind words with this posture, this tone, this smile. "I am Butter, who are you?" The Turan seemed unhappy with the word human in Yilin's words. The son of Hanbao, Tai. Yilin politely announced his identity, then skillfully broke off a finger and expressed his opinion. In the demon clan, there has always been only one rule. Only the strong have the right to speak. Avocado scratched his head, looked down at the weak Tai in front of him, nodded, and seemed to agree with this point of view. It's pretty cool. Second, Yilin narrowed her eyes and said in a calm voice, "You seem to be not qualified to talk to my mother. Why don't you look at my mother and ignore you at all? Don't you have any idea about your status? Let the person behind you, it's more like a demon speaking." Snapped. In the distance, the fat gluttony pressed hard, causing the plate beneath him to collapse. What Yilin said is easy to understand and can be appreciated by both refined and popular people. However, Brother Butter was left wandering around for a while and finally understood. After trying to figure out the meaning of Yilin's words, it suddenly blew out a few puffs of breath from its nostrils and understood that Yilin was scolding him. In an instant, Brother Butter's demonic aura surged, and he pointed at the small body Yilin. "Then you have no right to speak, get out of the way." "Very good. It seems that you can still communicate well. It's really great that we can reach a consensus so quickly." Yilin pressed her legs, stretched and moved her muscles on the spot, then stood up straight and raised her index finger on the Butter. "Come here." "Moo." Butter got angry and kicked his feet. In an instant, everyone felt a violent shaking under their feet, swaying left and right. The iron ropes used to fix the platform on the edge of Upside Down Mountain actually fell under Butter's huge kick. It suddenly straightened up, making a creaking sound as if it was about to break at any moment. Butter's figure was like the wind, and his whole body was like a bowl-shaped tank, charging towards Yulin with its horns on its head. Butter didn't seem to be stupid. He knew that Yulin was short in stature, so he deliberately lowered the angle of his head so that the pretty bull thrust attack could go directly into the opponent's chest and into the sky. I want you to fly. Little Lord. Little Lord. Jur and Meow Meow, two demons, are Tai's royal wet nurses. Although they have never breastfed, they have already gotten over their feelings. Tai may not know how powerful the Bull Demon clan is, but they know it in their hearts. They usually laugh at the young master's weak body, but now that small body is about to be penetrated by an ox's horns. Jur and Meow Meow, two wet nurses, one lights up her demon eyes and stretches out her sharp claws, and the other holds out countless hands. The spiked vines want to save Tai from the clutches of Butter. In Yulin's eyes. But it is a completely different world from others. Right now, he couldn't explain how fierce he was. But seriously, even he is scared. In the eyes of other monsters, the Tauren was menacing and fast, but in Yulin's eyes, it seemed like it was in slow motion. The trembling of the muscles, the angle of the bull's head, and the rhythm of the pace, all the information gathered together, allowed Yulin to easily deduce the position where the bull's horns are about to hit, as well as the trajectory along the way. So slow. In a hurry, Yulin could even come up with several ways to deal with such a large-scale attack that was both pretentious and trouble-free. But at this time, in order to establish her authority, Yulin chose the most troublesome one. Freedom of law landslide. Under the horrified gazes of the demons, Yulin faced them with a punch without dodge. In the blink of an eye, Yulin's punch hit the cow's head. The moment his fist came into contact with the bull's head, the Tauren felt the force coming from his fist, and he was overjoyed. He secretly thought that the son of a drought demon was just that, extremely weak. But half a second later, he felt something was wrong. Although the force of this punch was weak, a second gravity wave came from the fist, which was twice as strong as the first gravity wave. Before Naoto could react, the second gravity channel was followed by the third gravity channel. This third gravity channel was twice as powerful as the second gravity channel. The layer upon layer of force, like a tsunami, instantly submerged the bull's head. Boom! Following a loud noise, Tai remained motionless, but a strong shock wave suddenly exploded in all directions with the two demons at the center. Immediately afterwards, the ground suddenly trembled, and a heartbreaking sound of fractures was heard on Brother Butter's skull. Ka-ka-ka-dash. A large amount of blood overflowed from the ears, eyes, mouth, and nose of the bull demon. In fact, when the third gravity pushed him, because his head was severely injured, the Butter rolled his eyes in an instant and passed out. Additional third point. During the earthquake, Tai flew up with one foot, broke another horn, and jumped into the sky. He smiled and said, "My mother and I don't like people standing so high we talk." Boom. One punch, down. Another landslide. Butter's huge fallen body raised up fine snow in the deep pit. Yulin punched the Butter into the snow. When Yulin clapped her hands and returned to the astonished Huan Yang, the Butter behind her was already exhaling too much and not taking in enough. Half of her body was buried in blood, and her two horns were broken, and she was dying. Oh, by the way, Yulin smiled and waved to the Bull Demon clan who were cheering and cheering in the distance, "Are you still coming?" The Cow Demon clan was shivering all over, and the thousands of cow lice on their bodies were frightened to death. The whole clan shook their heads, saying that it was unnecessary. Hee hee. Guzu is still smiling. Gluttony closed his mouth. "Look, I said I've grown up, right?" Tai's smile became normal now, innocent and kind. He bent his arms towards the astonished Huaniang and bulged his biceps, who told them to look down on Huaniang's son. You got into trouble again. Huaniang said, but this time she looked particularly happy when she said this. Isn't this a mother? If you really take action, a certain fat guy will end up not being evil. Yilin saw it clearly, so she took the initiative to take action. Of course, the more reason is that he is angry. Why would a Tauren dare to speak to Huaniang in such a tone? The Tauren must die. Here, give me the ticket. Yilin reached out to Huaniang and asked for the dominoes. I'll throw the dominoes. You. Trust me, I'll vote. Okay, mom, I'm going to vote. Yilin started to sway the hem of the flower girl's skirt and act playfully. The flower girl looked into Tae's eyes. Vaguely, she saw a shadow that was both strange and familiar in Tae's eyes. After being stunned for a moment, Huaniang blinked and handed the dominoes into Tae's hand. My son has grown up. Hey. Yilin smiled. With Huaniang's permission, he collected all the dominoes in the hands of the neutral faction and other tribal leaders. There are 56 dominoes in total. 56 dominoes are equivalent to 56 tickets. No matter where those 56 votes go, they will be overwhelming. On the side of the Han tribe, Juer and Meow Meow whispered, Young master, can't you, each side vote half? Meow Meow thinks it's possible. This seems like something the young master can do. Huaniang's face darkened as she listened. But what the Han tribe and the neutral faction didn't expect was that Yilin was holding a pile of dominoes in both hands, without covering them up, and threw them into the red box in front of all the demon tribes. The flower girl was dumbfounded. Gluttony is stupid first and then fun. Guju's whole body was in bad condition, and his white beard was trembling. This. Aren't you neutral? Why did they all go to the main war faction? You don't seem to be a neutral faction, but are actually a spy from the war faction? Then what do you mean by beating the Tauren half to death? They are all their own demons. Quack quack quack. Woof woof woof. Moo moo. Hiss dash. The demon clansmen on the main fighting faction made strange noises one after another. After Yilin voted, she raised her right arm and said, We and the demon hunters are at odds with each other. This sentence seems to have triggered the high point of the main militant faction. All the monsters shouted, We and the monster hunters are at odds with each other. Yilin, I will defend the dignity of the demon clan to the death. Wan Yao, swear to defend the dignity of the demon clan to the death. Yilin, every wrongdoer has his own owner, and every debtor has his own owner. Wan Yao, every wrongdoer has his own debtor. Yilin, never harm innocent humans. Wan Yao, I will never harm innocent humans. Yilin took a long breath. It seems that everyone's wishes are surprisingly unanimous. Please count the votes quickly. After saying that, Yilin slipped back to Huaniang as if nothing was wrong. Yilin's series of nervous expressions made Huaniang raise her palms and tremble for a long time, unable to decide whether she should slap the baby once or twice. Seeing Huaniang raise her white and tender palm, Yilin took a few steps away and said quickly. Don't panic, mother, just wait and see. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Xueshi. Chapter 986. The 10,000 Demons Conference has now come to an end. It's time for the exciting vote counting process. Of course, there is no need to sing the votes. A Tauren happily smashed 2 boxes, and the dominoes fell down, clearly visible at a glance. Logically speaking, the war faction, the peace faction, and the neutral faction have similar numbers of tribes. Over the past 50 years, their opinions have been in conflict with each other, and they have been able to compete in separate courts. Now, one side couldn't bear it anymore and decided to force the neutral faction to take a stand. But Yilin, in front of so many people, did not hide anything and gave all the votes from the neutral faction to the war faction. It seemed that the overall situation was decided. There is no need to count votes at all. Guju's face turned blue. Gluttony grinned widely, holding a huge bone in his short, fat hands and stuffing it into his bloody mouth. It was so happy. Crash. Piles of dominoes hit the ground. The main fighting faction was happy, while the main peace faction was filled with sorrow. The main fighting faction wants to break into the hinterland of the human race and create a bright future. The Lord Harmony sect is unwilling to antagonize the human race, because that means that the monsters in Bajula's who will undergo a complete baptism, and by then no one knows how many monsters will die in the fierce battle with the human race. Many of them have scars on their bodies. Those are the scars left by the monks many years ago when they were active. They were lucky enough to escape from the monks, but they didn't want to experience that kind of fear again. But what the thousands of monsters present didn't expect was that when the dominoes fall to the ground, there was a moment of shock and silence. Immediately afterwards, there was a complete exchange of expressions between the two factions. The faces of the main war faction turned dark. The peacekeepers cheered loudly. "This is impossible." Gluttony roared, and an even more terrifying giant mouth was opened on its chest. Between the opening and closing of its sharp teeth, a disgusting fishy wind swept through the entire place, causing the weak monsters around it to stagger around. He could barely stand still and was sucked into the bloody mouth by the gluttonous mouth on Gluttony's chest. I saw among those two piles of dominoes. The dominoes falling from the green box formed a tall pile. On the contrary, the red box dropped only a small pile of dominoes. If we count the dominoes in detail, there are exactly 56 dominoes falling in the red box. One is not too much, and the other is not too little. These were all just thrown in by Yilin. Impossible. Gluttony was angry and about to lose his temper. It didn't believe it. This result was beyond its expectation. But it didn't react immediately, and it didn't expect that there might be such a thing as cheating. Although Gluttony has a cruel character, speaking of it, he still belongs to the category of simple folk customs and does not have so many problems in his heart. No, we obviously dash. The main war faction was even more dumbfounded. Others didn't know, but where did they vote? Didn't they have a good number? This number of votes is completely unreasonable. If nothing else, at least they did lose the red box. Facing the fierce eyes and mouth of his eldest brother Gluttony, the main combatant trembled, feeling helpless and full of grievance. After Guzu was overjoyed, he quickly frowned again and looked deeply at the Hanbeo son who had just made a big splash. He felt that Tei might have done something to him, but he had no evidence. How did Tei manipulate the dominoes in the box in front of so many people? The son of Hanbei did not even touch the box when he was voting. He held his hand high and threw it down, thus fully avoiding suspicion. Of course, Huaniang was also very surprised by this result. The votes on the neutral side were indeed thrown into the red box. But no one thought that those 56 dominoes were all the votes in the red box. How about you all listen to me? Tei stepped forward and said loudly. The sound was like a bell, swaying far away, suppressing the commotion of the demon clan. If Yilin had punched the butter before, what he said would not have had this effect. But when this son of a drought-stricken man punched the butter into the snow, the weight of the sound was a little different. No one wants to be the next butter. Hanba, this kid, is doing well in everything so far, but his temper is a bit grumpy. If they don't agree with each other, they will push people into the ground. Gluttony soon became quiet, and around it, the sound of grinding teeth produced by the grinding of countless sharp teeth echoed. Although it subconsciously felt that something was wrong, the 56 dominoes in the box of its main war faction were all thrown in by the new demon in front of it, plus Tei showed it when he beat the butter. Strength won him the right to speak. As I said before, the demon clan respects the strong. whoever has a strong fist will be obeyed by the demon clan. Obviously at this moment, in the hearts of the demons, this warrior who knocked down Butter with one punch had a hard enough fist, high and hard. Butter was previously among the top 5 in the monster clan's brute strength rankings. At this moment, this top 5 brute strength ranking has suddenly become Taeai's. The Butter that was stuck on the ground was ignored and left to breathe. When Yilin passed by, she patted Niu Liu's shoulder and secretly thanked Brother Niu for the opportunity. After the demons calmed down, Yilin continued. I know you have a lot of anger in your hearts. I also know that these years in Luzhu, Beiju, have made you feel unwilling. You want to take back everything that should belong to us, the land that belongs to us, the forest that belongs to us, the forest that belongs to us. Sky. All the demons flashed their red and green eyes and listened quietly. These words seemed to hit the softness deep in the hearts of the demon clan and hit the high point. I'm not willing to give in. I haven't tasted meat since I was born. What I eat is tree bark and what I drink is snow water. No. You are lying. There is a demon lying. Shameless. You kid is dishonest. When the human-faced snow spider tribe heard these words, there was a certain commotion. But the commotion was quickly suppressed by other tribes on the side. Yilin continued. My mother once asked me something. She asked me if I knew what was on the other side of the sea. I don't know, to be honest, I really don't know. But today, I seem to know. I see the answer in your eyes. It's freedom, you are all longing for freedom. Some monsters cried so sadly. Yilin ignored it and continued to speak passionately. But do you know how many people there are in the human race? 100,000? 1 million? 10 million, Yilin sighed. No, it may be more than you think, much more. That may be a huge number that none of you can imagine. The prosperity of the human race is inevitable, and their reproduction speed is getting faster and faster. On the contrary, because the spiritual energy of heaven and earth is getting thinner and thinner, the number of people of the same race who can truly open up their spiritual wisdom in nature and then cultivate themselves into demons over time is becoming fewer and fewer. The less. If we fight against the human race again, I think you all can imagine what the outcome will be. Oh, Grandpa Gluttony, please don't glare at me yet. Taeai hasn't finished speaking yet. Yilin calmed down the murderous Grandpa Gluttony with one word. Continued, is our wish really to kill all humans? Assuming that we are all killed, our demon tribe will be severely damaged in the end, and only a few of our kind will survive. Is this the ending you want to see? Of course, I don't know now how the demon clan can find a path to freedom that truly belongs to us. The reason why I say these words is not to tell the brothers what we should do and whether we should kill them. Taeai thinks, this is not something that can be decided casually. Time will tell us the answer. But Yilin's voice changed. No matter what the human race's attitude towards our demon clan will be in the future, our demon clan currently has an enemy that is obvious to all. That is, the Monster Hunting Division. The Monster Hunting Division is in the vast outside world, hunting my people crazily. It made me angry, really angry. Taeai raised his head, with crystal clear tears falling from his eyes. Why do I always have tears in my eyes? Because I love this land deeply. When Taeai said these words, some demons cried louder, and they all praised Taeai of the Han tribe. Well said. It goes straight to the heart. So, after talking so much, I should also express Taeai's thoughts in front of the elders. Yilin wiped a few tears squeezed out of the corners of his eyes and smiled slightly. The human race has existed for 5,000 years, and the number is endless. We can't kill them all in a short time. We might as well send our elites to sneak into the human race, first uproot the damn organization of the demon hunting department, and then discuss whether to peacefully coexist with the human race, or fight to the death with the human race. The words of Taeai from the Han tribe were first sensational and then reasonable, directly bringing thousands of monsters into his rhythm. Even Gluttony and Guzu, the two uncles, were thinking about the rationality of these words. Even if he is Gluttony, he doesn't really want to fight with the human race. Many years ago, it had been severely beaten by the ancestors of the Tianjian sect, otherwise it would not have stayed in Beijuluzhu and not dared to enter the world. Tai gave a compromise idea. The entire human race is too huge. I, the demon, should not regard the human race as an imaginary enemy for now, and we will discuss it another day. But the monster hunting department was obviously bullied to the point of being bullied. Whether it was for survival or for face, we sent people to kill him back. It was very fair and reasonable. The monsters each whispered to each other. Tai stood there, with his head raised and his chest raised, and he looked so majestic and upright, which made people look at him with admiration. But it's not easy to sneak into the human race, many of my race are not good at hiding their auras. And the monster hunting department, it is said that monks are involved, and there are many weird magic weapons. It may not be that easy to uproot the monster hunting department. Who should be sent? Swish, swish, swish. The monsters write about it, and when they have a headache, someone inadvertently cast their eyes on Tai. Then, more and more demons set their sights on Tai. I just feel that the prince of the Han tribe becomes more and more awesome and handsome the more I look at him. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 987. How on earth did you change the tickets in the box? On the way back, Huan Yang grabbed Yilin's ear and asked with a gentle smile. Yilin didn't dare not reply. If you really don't reply, your ears will definitely be pulled off by Huan Yang. Although with his self-healing ability, a new ear can grow back within a few seconds after being pulled off, it is still very painful. Back to Huan Yang, this is Tai Yi's newly mastered blood magic, Transformation. Blood magic, Huan Yang was stunned. When did you change it? When I punched the bull in the head, I took advantage of the shock and exchanged the tickets in the red box. Yilin answered honestly. Certainly. This is also true. But there was a slight discrepancy. When Yilin punched the cow's head into the soil and sent up snowflakes all over the sky, he accurately made a circle in the box with his other hand. With a swish, the tickets in the red box fell into the wormhole, and then fell out of the green box. If we don't do this, the movement of the dominoes in the box will be difficult to hide from the five senses of the other two bosses. Huan Yang complained on her lips, but there was joy in her eyes. Since Tai has mastered the blood magic, it means that Tai has grown up and has the ability to protect himself. 10 days later, tens of thousands of demons were at the beach, weeping to say goodbye. The 10,000 Demons Conference finally discussed the results. 5 warriors formed the Anti-Killing Monster Hunting Division Death Squadron. They first sneaked into the hinterland of the human race and tried to find the Monster Hunting Division's base camp. Then they launched an attack with the entire army and destroyed the Monster Hunting Division in one fell swoop. These 5 demon warriors are Tai, Meow Meow, Jur, Butter, Suansi. I won't talk about Tai, Meow Meow and Jur. The son of Hanbao and the 2 wet nurses were inseparable. Naiwu was the bull demon who was bravely hummed into the snow by Tai on the day of the venue. After 10 days, Naiwu had almost recovered from his injuries and was classified as a warrior. This is what is called no acquaintance without fighting. As for Suansi, he is a male demon similar to a dog. His body contains the blood of the ancient monster Fudo. He looks like a dog, but he stands on 2 legs. Suansi was now folding his arms, closing his eyes, silent, looking cool. Suansi and Naiwu said goodbye surrounded by their respective tribesmen. It is worth mentioning that Suan-si is already the father of 2 children. His 2 dog babies are being held by their mother. They stick out their tongues and lick the father's fingers. The family of 4 is filled with a happy atmosphere. At this time, Huan Yang came to Tai Yi. "Mom, I know what you want to say. Don't worry. I've wanted to go out for a long time. I will take good care of myself outside." Yilin quickly behaved like a child. Huan Yang did have a lot to say and a lot to ask, but she was blocked by Tai. After a while, she turned over her hands and pulled out a stone slab. Yilin's pupils shrank slightly. "It's the original book. Here, put your hands on it." Huan Yang looked at Tai deeply. "Mom, what is this?" Yilin smiled and without any hesitation, she casually placed her hand on the organization book. The moment Yilin's hand came into contact with Orisu, Tai's movements paused for a moment. But a second later, Tai let go of his hand, his face full of surprise. "Did you see anything?" asked the flower girl. Tai scratched his head. "I saw my mother, my 2 grandfathers Gluttony and Guzu, and many people I didn't know, standing together." After Tai said this, he fell silent. The 2 were silent for a while, and Huan Yang was startled. "Where's down there?" "It's gone down there." Tai said confidently. "Mom, what is this? Why does Tai have a strange picture in his head?" "Nothing else special." The flower girl frowned. "To say that there is," Tai lowered his head, "there is a woman who is quite beautiful." When the flower girl heard this, she couldn't help but laugh. "How beautiful is it?" "Of course she's not as beautiful as my mother. My mother is the most beautiful thing Tai has ever seen, a banshee. Loquacious. Hey hey hey." Seeing that there was indeed nothing special about the scene, Tai said, Huan Yang stopped asking any more questions and turned to look at Miao Miao and Zhu'er. "Remember, if anything happens when you are away from home, you must listen to your young master's instructions. Also, the young master is simple-minded. You have been in the human race before, and you know the insidiousness of the human race, so you must protect the safety of the young master. Don't worry, Lord. Miao Miao and Zhu'er will fight to the death to protect the young master. They will definitely fulfill their responsibilities as nannies. Duin. Duin. Duin." Zhu'er and Miao Miao both slapped their bulging chests vigorously and made demonic orders. The human race has a ship every month. The route passes outside Luzhu in Beiju. I will order the warriors of the shark tribe to carry the 5 of you across the sea. You only need to sneak on the cruise ship and hide your aura on the ship to successfully reach Dongsheng God Continent. As a human expert, Uncle Guzu had even made plans for smuggling. Perfect. Shark warriors are good at swimming, and they are born to live in the deep sea. A warrior of the shark clan transformed into his true form, a monster shark with a back that was 5 meters long, and fell into the sea, waiting for a few people to board the boat. After a simple farewell ceremony, the 5 warriors are about to leave Beiju Luzhu. Miao Miao and Zhu'er looked at each other and changed. After a flash of light, the 2 of them shrank in size. Miao Miao turned into a cute black cat and jumped into the arms of the young master. But Zhu'er turned into a string of chrysanthemum bracelets and put them on Yilin's wrist. "Young master, our posture can suppress the breath to the limit. Unless we encounter the golden core cultivator, it will be difficult to detect the true forms of Zhu'er and Miao." Miao Miao, who had turned into a little black cat, breathed soft and itchy air into Yilin's ear in a lazy tone, meowing angrily. A chrysanthemum demon and a cat demon hung on Yilin in this way. Yilin felt it for a moment, and it was indeed as Miao Miao said. After they shrunk in size, even Yilin, who was very sensitive to evil spirits, would find it difficult to detect the evil spirits in Miao Miao and Zhu'er unless they got very close. Taste. Tai, please keep this amulet close to your body before leaving, Hua Niang carefully hung a brocade bag around Yilin's neck, stuffed it into her clothes, and warned, "There is a brocade bag hidden in the brocade bag. A trace of hair is dyed with mother's lifeblood. If you find the headquarters of the demon hunting department, you only need to inject spiritual energy into the bag or let Meow Meow activate the blood magic, and mother will notice that when you get there. At that time, mother will lead the tribe to Tai as quickly as possible." "Good." Yilin pressed the brocade pouch under her clothes. The brocade pouch was cold, but it made Yilin feel the slightest warmth against her skin. Yilin had two female demons hanging on her body. On the side, Xian Si and Niu Yu respectively finished bidding farewell to their clansmen. Three warrior monsters from different camps easily jumped into the sea and landed on the backs of the Shark Clan warriors. Yu. After waiting for a while, a long whistle sounded in the distance. "Walk." The shark warrior flicked his fin and broke through the glacier in an instant. Like a mad dog out of its cage, it swept toward the hazy ship shadow deep in the mist. One day in the future, you will have to make a decision. This decision will not only affect your future, but also the future of both worlds. Then what should I do? Nozomi. Follow your will, little flower. You should never forget one thing. No matter what kind of creature you become, when you only live for yourself in this life, it will be too boring. Is that right? Xiahua doesn't understand. You will understand later. Okay, I'm leaving. 11, are you leaving? When will you come back? Come back, I can't tell. Maybe it will be one day, maybe it will be a year, or maybe, never again. Xiahua is sad. Ah, by the way, under the setting sun, Empress 11's smiling face was so perfect that it looked like it was glowing with colorful light. If you are sad, then please pass on my name. 11. No, let's call it 7 Jew Empress, it's very popular. And an outsider named 11 disappeared in the air, and his voice was like a song, wafting to the world, "There must be someone in the future, you will like this name." Looking at the shark warriors and the three demons on their backs fading away, Hua Niang could not help but think of ancient memories that had been sealed for nearly 5,000 years. She could no longer remember what the 7 Jew Empress looked like back then. But her smile and her words seemed to linger in her ears and echo in her heart, making her unforgettable. Tai. Wind. Hua Niang clutched her chest, feeling an inexplicable throbbing in her heart. She slowly closed her eyes and muttered the name repeatedly. Her son. Tai. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Xueshi. Chapter 988. On the back of a shark. Yilin was idle and bored. If he plans to find Suan Si for a relationship, he should first liven up the atmosphere with his teammates. Between Suan Si and Butter, he chose Suan Si. Dogs are relatives of Emperor Wang Tian. He has always had an affinity for this species that no one else has. I said, "Brother dog, how old is your child?" Suan Si. They look very cute. Are they twins? I'm so jealous. You dog people are really capable of giving birth. The prince of a certain Han tribe struck up a conversation while minding his own business. Suan Si, who had dark skin, stared at the shadow of the boat in the distance without saying a word, as if he was deaf and didn't hear Tai's conversation at all. Brother dog, how old are you? Dog brother. Brother dog, is your blood magic related to the sense of smell? I heard my mother say that in this operation, we need to rely more on brother dog's nose. Dog brother. By the way, brother dog. My name is Suan Si. The dog brother didn't turn his head, but he said a word from the dog's mouth. Okay, brother dog. My name is Suan Si. I know, brother dog. Tai made an okay gesture to express his understanding. Dog brother. Moo, little brother Tai, you are someone I admire. When Yulin took the initiative to talk to Brother Go, at the 10,000 Demons conference, Yulin punched the butter into the soil and walked over with a shy face. Lao Niu, always thought that in Luzhu, Beiju, except for the three bosses and those stone geeks, no one is stronger than Lao Niu, but little brother, you can knock me out of my skin with just one punch that day. Oh. Do all Tauren have this kind of personality? Yulin turned around and glanced at Niuzu, not knowing whether his attitude was just a show or whether he truly admired him. But as the saying goes, don't hit the smiling person. Yulin didn't need to vent his anger on Niuyu, so he stretched out his hand, intending to shake hands with Niuyu and make peace, saying that they don't know each other until they fight. But the butter brought his two broken horns together. Yulin was stunned. Seeing the confused look on the Han tribe's prince's face, Niuyu patted his forehead and said, "Look at Lao Niu's memory. In our bull demon tribe, if a demon recognizes its strength, it will let him touch its horns. But your horn, isn't it broken?" Lao Niu's smiling face suddenly darkened. "Didn't you break one?" But he didn't say much. He took 2 injections into his nostrils and puffed out his breath. The old cow said in a muffled voice, "It will grow back in 10 or 8 years. So Yulin touched the horns of the cow. The 2 monster clans shook hands and made peace. The human ship is not far away. Unknowingly, the shark clan warriors were extremely fast, galloping hundreds of miles on the sea in the blink of an eye. The shadow of the ship in the distance gradually became clear, and the ferocious outline of a giant beast appeared in front of the 5 warriors. Except for Yulin, Lao Niu, Brother Go, and Miao Miao in Yulin's arms all bared their teeth and assumed fighting postures. "Isn't it just a ship? Why are you nervous?" "I don't know how to eat people, so hurry up and board the ship." Ships are the new monsters born in the past 100 years of the human race. After Bajuluz, who introduced new rules to prevent the demon clan from rashly contacting the human race, not to mention Lao Niu and Brother Go, even Miao Miao and Zhu'er had been there before. This is the first time for the little she-demon who lives in the human race to observe the ship at such a close range. This ship seems a little bigger than expected. Tai's words made the other monsters stunned and blushed secretly. They didn't expect to be taught a lesson by a young monster clan junior. "Old Niu, brother dog, hurry up and transform. My mother said before we went out that you were chosen because of your superb transformation skills and your ability to blend into human society." In a blink of an eye, the moving ship was only a mere 200 meters away from the shark's back where the 5 demons of Yulin were. There is mist all year round around Luzhu in Beiju. Thanks to the mist, the people on the ship did not find the 3 monsters standing on the sea. Brother Go and Lao Niu looked at each other and soon became quiet. The hair on their bodies fell off quickly and their size also shrank. "You guys wait a minute, I'll go up and explore first." Finally coming out of Bajuluzhu, Yulin was like a bird escaping from its cage. She moved without too many scruples. She released her spiritual consciousness and scanned around the ship. Knowing what she knew, she stepped on the sea and escaped from the shark's back, silently. Wuxi boarded the deck and sneaked into the ship. Shortly after, Yulin came back, holding a pile of clothes in her hands. After returning, Brother Niu and Brother Dog both completed the process of transformation. The 2 of them each turned into 2 strong men, with their chest muscles and abdominal muscles crisscrossing each other, and their muscles trembled with a beast-like aura. Yulin threw the clothes in front of Lao Niu and Brother Go, "Put on some clothes." Brother Dog frowned. Lao Niu shook his head fiercely, "Old Niu doesn't wear it, it's stained with human smell." The 2 uncles were obviously unwilling. "Don't you just want to get on the ship wrapped in this animal skin? I can guarantee that as soon as you get on the ship, you will be discovered and cause a commotion." Only then did Lao Niu and Brother Go notice that Tai had changed into a set of well-tailored, clean black clothes as he came and went, and the leather shoes under his feet were shiny and handsome. On his shoulder, Miao Miao complained, Young master is dressed like a dog again. On the wrist, Jewel also said, young master looks like a human race now. Yilin was speechless. Don't use idioms randomly, I didn't see brother dog here. Have no choice. Rustling, Brother Go and Lao Niu put on their clothes in front of Yilin. Yilin turned around and covered her black cat pupils and chrysanthemum eyes for the sake of harmony. After the two uncles changed their clothes, they became very down-to-earth. Dressed in coarse linen clothes, standing together with Yilin, they looked like a young master from a wealthy family and two older men carrying luggage. Brother Go is pretty good, he has turned into an old man with a round head. On the surface, he has sharp features and looks a bit like a veteran. The transformation of Lao Niu left Yilin speechless. Even though Lao Niu had shrunk his body, he was still nearly 2 meters tall. It was not easy to find clothes that fit Lao Niu on a small boat. When Lao Niu put on his clothes, they were tied from top to bottom and he had to walk. You have to be careful to tighten your buttocks, otherwise a little excessive force may damage the clothes you finally borrowed. Standing there like a butcher. There was nothing Yilin could do about it. Butter was already considered one of the demon clan's best at transforming. At the very least, he looks human. With two hanging on Yilin's body, the three of them bid farewell to the unknown tool-man warriors of the shark tribe and easily boarded the ship. On the deck, there were many well-dressed celebrities. Most of them have blonde hair and blue eyes, are tall and slender, and exude a different kind of exotic style. This ship is a tourist flight sailing from Xinyu to Dongsheng Shenzhou. After just walking around on the ship, Yilin kicked open the door of a cabin with familiarity, knocked out an uncle who was traveling alone inside, tied him up and stuffed it into a container, and the three of them occupied the room and stayed inside, planning to just sail until you reach your destination. You guys stay here and don't go out. I'll look around. After Yilin warned Lao Niu and Brother Go, she went alone to inquire around. In order not to make Miao Miao and Zhu suspicious, he deliberately walked on the boat for 2 hours without saying a word. It was not until 2 hours later that he started speaking the human language. Young master is so awesome. Young master, great. Regarding the amazing learning ability shown by the young master, Miao Miao and Zhu, two nannies who had watched Tai grow up, had no doubts. They just secretly sighed that the young master was worthy of having the blood of the master. He was so smart. As expected, it's biological. At night, there is a buffet dinner on the deck. Fortunately, it's not too difficult to learn. Yilin humbly fooled him, and then pretended to be the son of a wealthy businessman. He held up a glass of red wine, wiped his face with his right hand, and activated the cloud body to change the muscle structure of the face. Yilin didn't have time to slowly pinch it, so she simply followed the template of Li Chang'e back then and gave herself a handsome face that everyone loved, and walked among the bejeweled and plump ladies on the ship. Miao Miao and Zhu had no doubts about their young master's face-changing ability. As the son of Han Bao, what's wrong with changing his face? It would be strange if it doesn't change. Although Yilin's charm value is not high, because of this reincarnation, he has a talent of Hair and Genki, which seems to have raised his endangered charm value a little bit. Although it can't be compared with Li Chang'e back then, at least it doesn't look so annoying. In addition, the three senses follow the facial features. When Yilin showed a full gentlemanly demeanor and aristocratic style, the crowd surrounding this young and rich man, there were more and more young women around young master. Some young women even had no morals and secretly stuffed a card into Yilin's hand with the room number written on it. In fact, they don't care whether the rich young man is handsome or not. The important thing is that he also has a cat and is always caring. What lonely ladies value is connotation. Miao Miao was very happy about this. She nestled in Yilin's arms and asked, "Young master, can you eat it?" The chrysanthemum bracelet on her wrist also trembled, seeming to express the same idea. Yilin gracefully declined the invitations from all parties, walked to the corner, lowered her head and warned, Don't eat people anymore. When we get to the shore, I promise to make you so full that you will not be able to hold it anymore. Do they taste better than the young master's balls? Speak clearly, the eggs were boiled by me, not mine. Yilin twitched the corner of her mouth. Is that better than the eggs cooked by the young master? That's so delicious. Yeah, yeah. Young master is the best. Upon hearing this, Meow Meow and Juer thought that as long as it tasted better than the young master's balls, they didn't seem to be unable to accept it. After calming down the two monsters who were full of cannibalistic thoughts, Yilin began to sort out the information. He wandered among the young women and gathered information from the sidelines. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 989. The ship sailed on the established route for a day and a night. The shipping industry has developed for 100 years, and the human race has long found a relatively safe route. This tourist flight sailed from Zhenyu to Dongsheng Shenzhou and arrived at the port safely. Yilin and the other two got off the boat as if nothing happened. Before disembarking, Yilin slapped her forehead and let out an ouch. I almost forgot about that, brother. Yilin clapped her hands in front of her body. On the deck, a container opened strangely, causing a commotion among the staff on the deck. Hey, why did you open this broken box? Oh, the Bodhisattva cellar, there's a brother in there. He's starving to death. Still alive. Still alive. Thanks to Bodhisattva Buddha, he is still alive. What a tragedy. What a crime. Who did it? Quick. Get the ship's doctor. Ah, wait a minute, this guy is the ship's doctor. A group of 3 people attracted the attention of many people when they walked out of the port. If we say they are weird, if you look at them separately, they are not weird at all. At least they all look like human beings. But when the 3 people are paired together, it seems very inconsistent. The young man at the head was wearing a crisp suit, which is a popular dress from Hezhu, Zhenyu. He was wearing a brand new high-top hat, and his hands were wearing white gentleman gloves. The young man was holding an aristocratic cane in his left hand, and he held a black cat in his arms and slowly walked out of the port. Behind him were 2 strong men who looked like they were not easy to mess with at first glance. One of them was wearing a black vest, and his dark muscles reflected a scary light in the sun. He looked a bit like a veteran. The other one was barefoot and wearing a sailor suit that obviously didn't fit. It should have been trousers worn by normal people, but he wore them like cropped trousers, making him look like a butcher in the market. Even on the butcher's ass, a few tight threads were broken, making people worried about when the tight crotch would explode. The 3 of them walked out of the port quickly. I said, you guys are too conspicuous. Yilin lowered the brim of his hat and after walking out of the crowd, he quietly returned to his original appearance. Have it? Lao Niu was so stretched that he felt uncomfortable all over. He wished he could burst his clothes and liberate himself completely. He lowered his head and looked left and right, feeling that his transformation was perfect, but nothing was conspicuous. But Brother Go crossed his arms and said nothing, still looking cool. Young master, where shall we go next? Meow Meow knew that the young master was hanging among the young women and got a lot of information. These aristocratic young women from Zhenyu who all took this tourist flight for the purpose of traveling. Yilin used the excuse that she didn't make a travel guide in advance and asked a lot about the customs, and tourist attractions of Qian country. There is a train station not far from here. We will take train H688 and go directly to Qingdu, the capital of Qian Kingdom. When Yilin said the word Qingdu, deep in his eyes, a hint of sadness appeared involuntarily. After hundreds of years of vicissitudes, things and people have changed, and I don't know what the ancient capital in my memory has become now. Little brother, what are your plans? Lao Niu scratched his head and asked. On Upside Down Mountain, he was convinced by Yiren's punch. He asked this question at this moment, not because he had any objection, but because he really didn't understand the meaning of Tae's trip. If you don't understand, just ask. Suan-si glanced at the butter. He had been silent for a long time. He finally couldn't help but speak. He snorted coldly and said, because there are many people in Kingdu. Brother Go is awesome. Yilin smiled and gave Suan-si a thumbs up. That's right. We went to Kingdu precisely because there are so many people in Kingdu. Juer understands. The string of chrysanthemum bracelets on Yilin's wrist made a crisp laugh, and Juer suddenly realized, because there are many people in Kingdu, there may be more monsters hiding in Kingdu. If there are too many monsters, monster hunters will naturally attract them to Kingdu. The country of Jian is vast, and it is not easy to find the headquarters of the demon hunting department in the vast sea of people. So, needless to say, going straight to the city with the most people, whether it's asking for directions by throwing stones or luring a snake out of its hole, going to Kingdu should be the best choice. The three of them boarded the H688 train. Whoring for nothing. Because of Yilin's restraint, nothing special happened along the way. This train lasted 3 days. 3 days later, the three finally arrived at the legendary century-old capital, Kingdu. Today's Kingdu has a completely different look from the Kingdu in Yilin's memory. What was once a small bungalow has turned into a row of square buildings. What was once a bluestone avenue has been paved into a straight road. The street vendors are shouting. Ancient beetle cars are racing on the road. A group of rickshaw pullers solicit customers on the street. 7-color neon lights flash with unique light and shadow high on the building. The city in front of her has transformed into what Yilin remembers, which is roughly equivalent to the urban landscape of the mid-20th century in reality. Yilin was like a gentleman from afar, with his head lowered, walking in the busy traffic with 2 reckless men accompanying him. He smiled and declined the invitations from street girls, flower girls, and hotel agents, and came to the gathering place of rickshaw pullers. A group of sturdy, plainly dressed coachmen squatted on the street. They wore thick cloth shoes on their feet and put a towel full of sweat smell on their shoulders. The calluses on their hands, the deep wrinkles on their faces, and the unkempt beard showed that they were at the bottom of society. Yilin took out several Jiantong National Bank banknotes, stamped with the official seal of Jiantong National Bank. I want to rent 3 cars and go to Heian Temple. Yilin's voice sounded above the heads of the rickshaw drivers who were squatting on the ground. When the rickshaw drivers raised their heads, they saw that the young man in front of them was okay. When they saw the tall shadow behind the young man, their hearts suddenly thumped, secretly thinking that this job is not easy to do. Ah! But when they took a closer look at the amount of money in the young man's hand, more than a dozen rickshaw drivers stepped forward to grab it. No reason, too much given. Yilin randomly selected 3 rickshaw drivers who looked relatively strong and got on the rickshaw. Da-da-da. The rollers grinding the fine gravel on the road, making a soft sound. Amid the bumps, Yilin remained silent. The scenery in front of her in her mind gradually overlapped with the old scenery in her memory. Wait, stop for a moment. After walking a few hundred meters and passing by a square filled with white doves, Yilin suddenly sat upright in the carriage and stared intently at the bronze sculpture in the center of the square. The body of the bronze sculpture is a majestic woman wearing a gorgeous robe and a crown. Hey, is this man from outside here for sightseeing? Then you have come to the right place. This is the statue of Empress Zhenhe. It is said that it was built to commemorate the first female emperor in history. At that time, Qiangguo was still in the era of true peace. It is said that this legendary empress quelled the civil strife in the country and single-handedly created a peaceful and prosperous era, laying a solid foundation for the Qian kingdom's current prosperity. I remember that period of history was called a truly peaceful and prosperous age is coming. The driver seemed to be a veteran. It seemed that the aristocratic young man in the car was not a local. When the young man said he wanted to stop the car, he began to introduce this famous scenic spot to tourists. He had said the above words countless times and knew them by heart. In the square, there are many tourists from all over the country, setting up ancient bulky cameras to take pictures from various angles. Okay, let's go. Yulin leaned back into the car again and closed her eyes. The three drivers continued on their way. The driver pulling Yulin felt a little puzzled. He noticed that the man in the car seemed to be in a good mood after passing by the statue of Empress Xinpi. Because, he was humming with his eyes closed. About half an hour later, the three coachmen finally pulled the three men to their destination, huffing and sweating profusely. Especially the coachman who was pulling the old cow. As soon as he unloaded the old cow, he lay on the ground regardless of his appearance, his face turned red and purple, and he almost called an ambulance. In front of Ping'an Temple, the gates and courtyards are bustling. Many tourists lined up to buy tickets. Near the entrance of the temple, there are many shops selling charms and jade articles consecrated by the master to ensure peace. Before buying the ticket, Yulin specially walked to the guide board, which recorded the history of Heian Temple and every master who remains in Heian Temple today. Yulin's eyes quickly glanced over the guide. When he raised his head and saw the name written in the abbot column, he couldn't help but be startled. Master Chunyan. Who is this guy? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 990. Tianjianmen. It is an ancient Taoism that has been passed down for more than 3,000 years. 100 years ago, there were occasional monks from the Tianjian sect walking around the world, leaving behind various legends. In the past 100 years, Suanmen has retreated, and the traces of high-level monks have almost disappeared in the city. Gradually, some people called these legendary monks who could call the wind and rain, move mountains, and reclaim seas immortals. After all, it can't be seen or touched. Now, in the Hanging Mountain, with birds chirping and flowers fragrant, it feels like a paradise. Somewhere on the Hanging Fairy Island, there is an ancient villa. This house was said to have been built 100 years ago by a talented monk who mastered the golden elixir in just 4 years. This house has now become a forbidden area within Tianjian section except for a very few people who can enter, the rest of the disciples are not allowed to approach. Inside the Heavenly Sword Gate, many disciples have endless thoughts about this weird house. Some people say that this house looks like just a private house, but there is something hidden inside, and it is most likely a treasure house of Tianjianmen. Others say that this house is said to be uninhabited, but it is very possible that there are unknown ancestors of the Tianjian sect who are practicing in seclusion inside. The younger generation of disciples have different opinions on this. But no matter what the statement is, there is one point of view that is recognized by everyone. The previous owner of this house must have been an incredibly talented and unparalleled person. Look at the architectural style, the horizontal and vertical building structure, and the interior layout. Many disciples from the city, when they first saw the appearance of this villa, thought it was a powerful person inside the door who directly used magical powers. Moved from the secular world. But when they heard that this old house was built 100 years ago, their jaws dropped in shock. This was unimaginable. Were there already such avant-garde buildings 100 years ago? Later, someone overheard that the former owner of this ancient house, surnamed Lin. And at this time, a white-haired woman stands alone in the Lin mansion with her sword in hand, her figure as graceful as a fairy. But if someone looks at it from a distance, they will find that the back of this white-haired woman reveals an unconcealable loneliness in the dust, which makes people feel pity for her. The woman stood for a long time. There was a thin layer of dew on the tips of her hair. It seemed like I had been standing here all night. Suddenly, she moved. She opened her eyes indifferently, holding a snow-white sword in her hand, dancing gracefully over the Lin house. This is the sword dance. That was 100 years ago. On that day, her senior brother controlled her to dance the sword dance in the sky. Crack! 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 When the white-haired woman floated to the ground, not far away, a shadow twisted slightly, and an old man with a slovenly appearance and a messy beard walked out of the shadow. I saw the old man wearing a sloppy Taoist robe, a wine gourd hanging on his waist, and a tattered umbrella behind his back. I've met Brother Jian. The white-haired woman put away her sword and bowed in salute. Hey, we are all so familiar, so don't be polite, junior sister Xiaoman. It turned out that this sloppy Taoist was actually the graceful Jian Nanchun back then. Jian Nanchun waved his hand, took off the gourd from his waist, unscrewed the bottle cap, and raised his head. The head poured a large mouthful of strong wine from the world into his mouth, and after one sip, he shouted happily. Xia Xiaoman is dead. Brother Jian, please don't forget that I am Xiaorugjia. The white-haired woman raised her head, with a hint of sadness deep in her eyes. This is fate. It's like snow, just like snow, whatever you like, it doesn't matter. Jian Nanchun boldly wiped the wine stains from the corners of his mouth with his dirty sleeves, and looked at the corner of the courtyard. At the end of Jian Nanchun's eyes, there was a standing. There are 3 tombs. The graves were engraved with Lin Yi's tomb, Lin's father's tomb and Lin's mother's tomb. His eyes paused for a moment. Jian Nanchun shook his head and chuckled. Another year has passed. Senior brother, don't drink any more, I'll drink you to death. Xiaorugjia looked at Jian Nanchun's bohemian posture and sighed softly. As the saying goes, if you are happy in life, you must have all the fun, and don't let the wine go to the moon. Junior brother Lin Yi once said back then that wine can cure all diseases and cure thousands of sorrows. This is a good thing. As soon as Jian Nanchun finished speaking, he regretted it, because when he said that name, he clearly saw junior sister Xiaorugjia's calm face suddenly twisting. The two fell into an awkward silence. Sorry, senior brother is a little drunk. It doesn't matter. Xiaorugjia closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, she felt calm. Jian Nanchun rolled his eyes and immediately changed the subject, speaking of which, junior sister, your sword intent is becoming more and more concise. It seems that you are not far from a breakthrough, right? Xiaorugjia shook her head. The spiritual energy between heaven and earth is drying up day by day. If you want to break through, it is not easy. But there are always talented people in the world, right? You have a face that lasts for 100 years, and the world calls you a celestial being. Unlike me, senior brother, who is getting old and no longer as heroic as before, Jian Nanchun had no idea that he had no intention of doing so. A few words struck Xiaorugjia's pain point again. After Xiaorugjia was silent for a few seconds, she looked away, suppressed the trembling sword, and said softly, senior brother's traceless sword intent, in the eyes of junior sister, has also reached the state of perfection. Before senior brother spoke out, junior sister, it's almost impossible to notice the arrival of senior brother. 100 years ago. In Yingxiu Pavilion. In the yard, Jian Nanchun sat cross-legged on the snow. The girl sat under the eaves, eating roasted bait and drinking hot tea. The young man hovered beside Jian Nanchun, high-spirited. You won't notice the dead leaves on the big tree next to the enemy, you won't notice the shadow behind you, you won't notice the peeling paint on the brothel's plaque, and you won't notice the heavy rain pouring down. Droplets of water entering the turbulent flow. If you want others to think you are a shadow, you must first become a shadow. Suppress your emotions, calm your breathing, suppress your heartbeat, completely forget about the fact that you are a human being, and completely integrate into the surrounding environment. Following me like a shadow, leaving no trace. I realized it too late. For a moment, Jian Nanchun's eyes were in a trance, as if he had returned to 100 years ago, to that yard, to that day. It was not until 10 years ago that when Jian Nanchun was remembering the past, he finally understood what junior brother Lin Yi said back then, and realized his own technique and his true sword intention, no trace. Now, even Jian Nanchun's smile froze. He had just beaten Xiaorugjiu, and then he was beaten hard again. The name Lin Yi seems to have become a scar in their hearts that can never be erased. Every time I mention it, it makes my chest hurt. Even though 100 years have passed. How long is 100 years? If it were Jian Nanchun in the past, he might say, a long, long time. But now he feels that it didn't take long. At the very least, 100 years of vicissitudes are not enough to make the memories fade away completely. Forget it, let's not say more. Jian Nanchun came back to his senses, smiled and clapped his hands. Today is the death anniversary of junior brother, July 7th, let's all be happy. As he spoke, Jian Nanchun walked to the corner of the courtyard, where the three tombs hugged each other, and sprinkled some strong wine with his back to Xiaorugjiu. Senior Chen hid and drank secretly. Senior brother didn't know the taste of wine before, but now, he can enjoy it. By the way, Senior Chen has a strong body and is still pretending to be an old man in the handyman class. Many newcomers don't know Senior Chen's identity. You know, every time I look at those newcomers, I treat Senior Chen as an old man. I just think it's funny. But, the one in my family is fat and in poor health. He said that he doesn't have much time left and wants me to be an elder. Junior brother, you know me well and know that this is not my ambition. Who would love to be an elder like this, who should go? Senior brother, I don't care at all. Your junior sister, you have an ageless appearance, which is amazing. If you had been smarter back then and married junior sister Xia, you would have been blessed. Old husband and young wife, it is a beautiful thing that many people can't envy. Jian Nanchun sat in front of the tomb and talked ramble. Originally, when Jian Nanchun said the words marry junior sister Xia as his wife, Xiaorugjiu, who was listening from a distance, couldn't help but want to scold her. But when she heard what happened later, the words were stuck in my throat, but I couldn't reprimand him no matter what. Because she knows. Jian Nanchun is crying. Today inside the Tianjian gate. The new disciples of this generation all find it strange. The elders in the sect, for some unknown reason, came out of the mountain en masse. They Chen Kong Yufeng successively arrived at Linzai, the forbidden area of Tianjian gate. Some people just came to take a look, while others stopped for a moment. This forbidden house, which was usually unvisited, was extremely lively today, and the excitement continued into the night. Until late at night. Everyone has left. A gray-haired old man, wearing the clothes of a handyman class, sat on the roof, drinking alone until dawn. Many people don't know that 100 years ago, there was a person who got the title of Elder Quan and the honor of Elder Quan's named disciple. He was pleased to mention this unprecedented lifetime achievement. 3 days later. On the Supreme Mountain, Xiaorugjiu bent down to listen to the mountain wall as straight as a scabbard. The voice of the leader came from within the mountain wall. 3 months later, at Little Guanyin Mountain, Yan Fuzhou opened a forum to discuss Buddhism for the first time in a long time. This time, the opening of the forum will be personally hosted by Yan Fuzhou's Little Supreme Buddha and 12 Arhats. Disciple Rugjiu. Xiaorugjiu was about to refuse, but she didn't want to go out. In fact, since she returned to Tianjian sect 50 years ago as Xiaorugjiu, she has never left the Hanging Fairy Island and has been meditating inside the door. Go, the supreme leader's voice instantly suppressed Xiaorugjiu's thoughts of rejection. Although this is a grand gathering of Buddhism, the little Supreme Buddha announced to Taoism that he had discovered the truth about spiritual energy depletion. Please all sects of Taoism discuss important matters together. This time, it is not only a grand gathering of Buddhism, but also the 3 branches of Buddhism, Taoism, and Demon, gathering again after 1,000 years. Master is worried that if our sect does not participate, the discussion between Maluo Palace and Yan Fuzhou may have unexpected consequences. In this Buddhism conference, you will take my place and participate as the director of the sect. When the time comes, you must not damage the sect's style. Xiaorugjiu was silent for a moment. Although she felt helpless in her heart, the headmaster was kind to her. Then, Xiaorugjiu raised her head with a calm expression. Yes, Master, Rugjiu understands. This disciple will live up to his trust. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 991. Qingdu. In front of Heianji Temple. Yilin went to buy tickets honestly. You didn't earn the money yourself anyway. Not distressed. But Miao Miao, Zhu'er, and Niuzu refused to go in. They said in unison that the Buddhist temple was full of evil spirits and was unlucky. The reactions of the three of them were not beyond Yilin's expectations. After staying in Beijuluzhu for so many years, he didn't know the habits of the demon clan. It can be said that he and Buddhism are mortal enemies, born from nature. But Suen Si's reaction made Yilin a little surprised. Buy one for me. Suen Si calmly reached out to Yilin and asked for the admission ticket. Yilin glanced at Xian Si in surprise and handed over the ticket without asking any questions. At the same time, he took off the chrysanthemum bracelet and let Miao Miao bite it in his mouth. After leaving the two nannies to play in the cool place, Yilin took Suen Si, abided by their duties and disciplines, and lined up to enter the Ping'an Temple. After 100 years, Heianji Temple has become a famous tourist attraction. But what makes Heian Temple famous is not that the legends of the past have been passed down, but simply because this temple is old enough. It is said that the Heian Temple has a history of nearly 1,000 years and has survived through ups and downs, dynasty changes, natural disasters, and wars. This ancientness alone gives people enough reasons to get the so-called blessing. Among the tourists, Yilin accidentally met several young foreign women whom she met on the boat. However, Yilin had now returned to her original appearance, and they did not recognize Yilin for a while. In the courtyard, there is a lot of incense and an endless stream of guests. Suen Si asked Yilin for some pocket money, went to the incense sales point nearby, bought 3 incense sticks, walked in line to the huge incense burner, and silently lit the incense. Wait for me here. I'll come back as soon as I go. Yilin was initially worried that Suen Si's identity as a demon would be recognized, so he stayed there for a while. But until Suen Si finished offering the incense, no one of the Buddhist disciples coming and going could recognize Suen Si's true form, so they felt relieved. Heian Temple covers a large area, with many large and small meditation halls connected by antique corridors. Yilin came here 100 years ago. However, over the past 100 years, Heian Temple has undergone several renovations, and the internal structure has undergone many changes. But it didn't matter. Yilin closed her eyes, let go of her perception, and soon found her destination. When Yilin released his senses, he couldn't help but frown and look down at the neatly manicured lawn on the ground. After a moment, Yilin smiled slightly. I didn't expect that. It's okay, just treat him with courtesy. 10 minutes later, Yilin came to the deepest Zen hall in Heian Temple. Tuk 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 dash. The Zen hall still uses the oldest structure of paper windows and sandalwood doors. From the crack in the door, a scent of sandalwood floated into Yilin's nose. The sandalwood burned by Buddhists has always been blessed by eminent monks and has the effect of restraining evil spirits, monsters, and ghosts. It has a calming effect on ordinary humans. Therefore, this Buddhist sandalwood smell is not the same in the demon clan's nose. This is what Miao Miao, Zhu'er, and Niwei call evil energy. However, Yilin's bloodline is a little special. He is not a traditional demon. His bloodline is not even from this world. Yilin didn't feel any discomfort at all. Instead, She felt relaxed and happy, and her heart was as calm as water. Demons and demons cannot be generalized. Ahem. Here, it is not open to tourists. But Yulin came anyway. The process is not important. He coughed twice and knocked on the door. Tai of the demon clan, please see the master. Yulin took the initiative to announce her name. He even took the initiative to reveal his identity as a demon clan. At this point, he felt there was no need to be secretive. He was upright and upright. When Yulin spoke, an old and steady voice came from inside. Tai donor, please come in. That would be offending. Yulin pushed open the door and entered. In the empty Zen hall, there is a Buddha statue with a mottled surface. The material of the Buddha statue is the simplest bronze. The Buddha statue is stained with rust, showing signs of changes over time. An old monk with an old face and a long white beard was sitting cross-legged on a futon. In front of him, there was a dark red wooden fish. I hope you'll forgive me for coming uninvited. The donor came with questions in mind. In this case, everyone who comes is a guest. The old monk opened his eyes, which were filled with a turbid gray color. Yulin took off his hat and shook it casually. The hat floated outside the door and hung on the treetop. Master Chunyan. It's the poor monk. I want to find someone. Donor, please tell me. Master, can't you guess it? Ask the world, who dares to claim to know everything. Poor monks and ordinary monks dare not make rash guesses. I'm looking for Chunyan. Sure enough, Chunyan stood up, turned and walked to the row of candlesticks in front of the Buddha statue, and gently twisted it under the 9th candlestick. Rumble. The wall shook, and the wall behind a portrait of an angry-looking arhat moved back, revealing a secret door. Master Chunyan stood by the door, clasping his hands. What the donor is looking for is inside. This demeanor is a bit like asking you to enter the urn. Yulin frowned, it's not him inside. Chunyan smiled slightly, Tai donor, what you are looking for is not senior brother Chunyan. Oh? Please don't riddle, thank you. Yulin clasped her hands together, very politely. The donor is asking for an answer. Yulin was stunned for a moment, then chuckled, okay, I understand. Behind the door, there are stairs going down. Both sides were lit with bright candles. It was obviously a basement with a mysterious atmosphere, but the full candle light gave Yulin a sense of uprightness and brightness. Yulin was very calm and walked down the stairs in a circle. At the end, there is still a closed meditation hall. The reason for Yulin's accident was very simple. When he released his senses, he discovered this basement. Before, there was no basement here. Nowadays, his spiritual attributes have broken through the second level of lock and reached the legendary state. Once his perception is released, he can almost cover the entire kingdom, let alone a mere peace temple. There are no secrets in front of the legendary spiritual apostle. At this level, when the power of thought is released, it can no longer simply be called perception. In more technical terms, this is called transparency. In front of the legendary spiritual apostle, under the shroud of telepathy, the world is transparent. In the underground meditation hall, the lights are brightly lit. The walls were covered with pure wood, and candlesticks were burning with bright candles. In this underground meditation hall, Yulin could even feel the flow of air. It seems that there is ventilation equipment here. Otherwise, if there were so many candles burning together and there was no ventilation equipment, the people inside would have suffocated to death. In the empty Zen hall, there was a haggard person sitting. Yes, Yulin would use human to describe the gaunt old monk in front of him. There was almost no flesh on his body, and he was as thin as a skeleton. The deep-set eye sockets and cheekbones made the old monk look like a corpse. The old monk's breathing was extremely weak. If Yulin hadn't entered into the transparent touch, he might have ignored the weak breathing. As the saying goes, when in town, Do as the Romans do. Yi Lin is a polite demon. In front of the old monk, there is a futon. The futon was stained with dust. I don't know how many years it has been, but no one has visited it. He walked up to the old monk and didn't mind. He knelt down on the futon covered with thick dust and clasped his hands calmly. Tai of the demon clan has met Zen Master Tianxin. Click click click. The old monk, who was as motionless as a corpse, suddenly moved after hearing this. When he moved, his whole body made the sound of bones rubbing against each other. The movement seemed to be in slow motion, bit by bit, as if this little movement had exhausted all his strength. Even so, the old monk finally completed the action of putting his hands together. This scene is like an ancient corpse that has been sitting for thousands of years, coming to life. Amitabha, the old Zen master Tianxin opened his eyes as clear as a mirror. It turns out it's you, Donor Lin.